Turning Pain into Inner Strength Stoic Approach. One opening reflection: pain as a teacher, not an enemy. There's a kind of silence that follows deep pain, not the absence of sound, but the absence of answers. We ask, why me? We wonder, what now? And often we wait for the pain to pass for the world to make sense again. But what if pain wasn't here to destroy you? What if it came to teach you something you couldn't learn any other way? What if your deepest wound holds the key to your greatest strength? Pain is not something we choose, it's something we all meet. Loss, betrayal, change, disappointment. It comes in 1,000 forms, each one unexpected, each one unwanted. But the Stoics saw pain through a different lens. They didn't ask to be spared from it, they asked to be shaped by it. They believed that suffering wasn't an interruption of life, but a vital part of it, a mirror, a mentor. Epictetus, who was born into slavery and walked with a limp from a permanent injury, once said, "Difficulties show a person's character." He didn't say they create your character, he said they reveal it. Pain strips away illusion, it takes off the mask, and what's left is who you really are. Not the polished version, not the version built for applause, but the version built for truth. And in that rawness, something powerful happens. You begin to see that pain isn't just something to survive, it's something to learn from. It teaches you what matters. It shows you what you've ignored. It introduces you to strength you never knew you had. Marcus Aurelius, in the quiet of his journaling, reminded himself, "Fire feeds on obstacles," meaning adversity doesn't weaken the soul, it fuels it. So what if, instead of fearing pain, we sat with it, listened to it, asked it, "What are you here to teach me?" Because pain, like a strict but honest teacher, has something to say. Slow down, wake up, let go, forgive, start over, stand up. Not always, in words, but in whispers that shape your days. You don't need to love pain, but you can stop fighting it. You can meet it like the Stoics did, not with despair, but with curiosity, with courage, with a quiet promise to yourself, this will not go to waste. Think of the strongest people you know, not the loudest, not the most successful, the ones with depth, with wisdom, with stillness in their eyes. Almost always, their strength was forged in fire, not handed to them, but earned, moment by painful moment. They didn't become wise despite their pain. They became wise because of it, and so can you. So wherever you are in your story, in heartbreak, in uncertainty, in the middle of something you didn't choose, take this thought with you. Pain is a part of your path, but it doesn't have to be your prison. Let it teach you. Let it deepen you. Let it build the kind of strength that doesn't shake when the world does. Because adversity, as the Stoics knew, isn't meant to break you, it's meant to shape you. And on the other side of this moment is not just survival, but transformation. 2. Accepting pain without resistance. Pain hurts most when we resist it. When we say, this shouldn't be happening, I don't deserve this, why is life treating me this way? But the Stoics offered a different path, one that might sound radical. What if you could not only accept pain, but embrace it? What if, instead of fighting your fate, you welcomed it? That's the heart of a powerful Stoic idea. Amor fati, love of fate. To love fate doesn't mean pretending everything is pleasant. It doesn't mean denying your pain or smiling through sorrow. It means saying, even this is part of my path. Even this belongs. You stop asking life to be comfortable and start asking yourself to be capable. Epictetus, who knew hardship intimately, wrote, "It's not events that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." Let that sink in. It's not the event that breaks us, but the meaning we attach to it. We get angry when we think something is unfair. We panic when we think something is permanent. We suffer more when we say, this should not be happening to me. But what if it should be? What if this moment, however painful, is not a mistake, but a message? The Stoics didn't resist life. They aligned with it. They didn't ask, how do I escape this? They asked, how can I grow through this? And that shift from resistance to acceptance is where transformation begins. Because when you stop saying, this pain is wrong, and start saying, this pain is here, you create space. Space to breathe, to understand, to heal. Amor fati doesn't demand that you like every moment. It invites you to use every moment. To ask, what is this teaching me? What strength is being born here? How can I carry this with grace? You're not denying the hurt, you're deepening your response. And that, to the Stoics, was power. Seneca wrote, "A wise person is content with their lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what they do not have." It's not about lowering your standards. It's about rising to meet life as it is, with open eyes and an open heart. Because only when you stop resisting life can you begin to work with it. Think of pain like a wave. You can stand against it, tense and rigid, and be knocked down. Or you can learn to move with it, to breathe through it, float when you must, swim when you can. You don't control the wave, but you can learn how to move. And that movement, that flow, that quiet resilience is what Stoicism calls wisdom. So when life feels heavy, when grief or failure or loss knocks on your door, pause, breathe, and try this thought. This too is mine. This too belongs. And I will meet it not with fear, but with purpose. Because transformation doesn't begin when the pain ends. It begins when resistance ends, when you stop running and start listening. This is what Amor Fati asks of us, not to pretend that everything is easy, but to believe that everything is useful, that nothing is wasted, not even this. Because when you stop resisting your story, you begin to rise from it. Not bitter, but brave, not broken, but rebuilt, and maybe stronger than ever. 3. Choosing response over reaction. Pain is part of life. It comes in moments we don't expect. A harsh word, a broken promise, a silent goodbye. But the Stoics made a powerful distinction. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. That might sound strange at first. After all, when something hurts, it hurts. But the Stoics weren't denying the sting of life. They were revealing something deeper. It's not the pain itself that destroys us, but how we react to it. We've all felt it, that immediate surge when something goes wrong. Anger, fear, blame, despair. It's natural. But what's natural isn't always helpful. So the Stoics teach us, you don't have to react to everything that touches you. You have the power to pause, to choose, to respond, not reflexively, but wisely. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, carried the weight of an empire on his shoulders, and in the quiet of his reflections he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He was reminding himself and us that true power doesn't come from controlling the world, but from mastering your inner world. The space between stimulus and response is where your freedom lives. Let's say someone insults you. You feel the heat rise in your chest. You want to snap, shout, or withdraw. But here's the gift of Stoicism. You don't have to obey that first impulse. You can pause. Just one breath. Just 1 second to see your reaction instead of becoming it. That pause is power. It's the space where you get to decide, is this worth my peace? Am I reacting or responding? Who do I want to be in this moment? Epictetus compared the mind to a ship's rudder. Storms may come, winds may blow, but the rudder decides the direction. Your mind, your thoughts, your choices, that is your rudder. Pain may come from the outside, but suffering is often something we create by clinging, overthinking, judging. So the practice is this: feel fully, react slowly. This isn't about being cold or emotionless. The Stoics weren't stone. They felt deeply, but they also knew that letting emotions drive the ship often led to disaster. It's not about suppression, it's about direction. You acknowledge the feeling, then you guide it through values, through clarity, through presence. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. You could fume, swear, let it ruin your whole day. Or you could pause and say, this moment does not deserve that much of me. That's not weakness, that's strength. Every time you choose response over reaction, you reclaim a little more of your freedom. Seneca said, a wise person does not become angry, or if they do, they don't let it last. Even the wisest among us feel emotion. The difference is they don't feed it. They don't build stories around it. They see it. Then they choose their next move. And that's what makes a Stoic powerful. Not the ability to avoid pain, but the ability to move through it with clarity. To ask in any moment of hurt, what is the most loving, rational, and grounded choice I can make right now? That's not detachment, that's mastery. So today, if something presses your buttons, take a breath. Don't let the moment steal your character. Don't let someone else's chaos become your companion. Because your peace is precious. Your response is yours. And every pause is a chance to be the person you want to become. Control your mind, Marcus said, and you control your life. Not perfectly, but powerfully. One choice at a time. 4. Building inner fortitude through reflection. Strength doesn't always look like a battle. Sometimes it looks like a quiet conversation with yourself, a pen, a blank page, a moment of stillness. That's where real growth often begins, not in the noise of the world, but in the reflection of your inner world. The Stoics knew this well. They didn't just face hardship, they examined it. They asked what it meant, they asked what it revealed, and most importantly, they wrote it down. Journaling wasn't a hobby for them, it was a daily discipline, a way to understand their minds instead of being controlled by them. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote to himself every day, not to impress anyone, not to be read by the world, but to stay grounded, to build a fortress inside stronger than anything outside. He would ask, "What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What did I learn from it?" This wasn't self-criticism, it was self-honesty, because you can't change what you refuse to look at. Journaling gives you that chance, a safe space to admit, "I was angry today, and here's why. I felt lost today, and here's where it came from. I reacted without thinking, but next time, I'll pause." Pain, when left unexamined, festers. It builds stories in the dark. It becomes fear, or bitterness, or shame. But pain that's faced with reflection, it becomes wisdom. Not all at once, but piece by piece, insight by insight. Because when you write, you slow down, you step back, you see the pattern, you find the thread, and sometimes you realize you're stronger than you thought. Epictetus believed that philosophy wasn't for bookshelves, it was for living. He said, "Don't just say you've read philosophy, live it." And that's exactly what reflection helps you do. It turns experiences into insight, struggles into lessons, wounds into reminders of your resilience. You don't need to be eloquent, you don't need the perfect words, just honesty, just presence, just a willingness to look within. Um, Ask yourself, what challenged me today? What did I avoid? Where did I act out of fear or ego or impatience? And then, gently, how can I grow from this? This is how inner fortitude is built, not in a single moment of bravery, but in the daily habit of facing yourself. It's like strengthening a muscle. The more you reflect, the more you begin to respond instead of react. You notice patterns. You catch unhelpful thoughts before they spiral. You begin to trust your own mind, not because it's perfect, but because it's examined. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Reflection helps you see that. It helps you untangle what's real from what's exaggerated. What's happening from what your fear is telling you is happening. It gives you clarity, and with clarity comes calm. So if life feels heavy, if your emotions feel tangled, or your thoughts feel loud, sit down, write it out. You don't need to solve everything. You just need to see it. Because once you see it, you're no longer lost inside it. You're observing it, understanding it, growing through it. This is the Stoic way, not to escape the storm, but to build shelter within. And every journal entry, every honest reflection, every brave moment of self-awareness is one more brick in that shelter. Inner fortitude isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, one quiet moment at a time. 5. Finding meaning in the struggle. There are moments in life when we ask, why is this happening to me? Moments when the pain is sharp, the loss is real, and the silence that follows offers no answers. But what if the question isn't why this happened, but what will I do with it now? What if your pain wasn't the end of your story, but the beginning of something deeper? The Stoics believed that pain isn't meaningless. It's a forge, a place where your character is tested, tempered, and made true. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, your obstacle isn't the problem, it's the path. This idea echoes in the work of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who found clarity in humanity's darkest hour. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Frankl discovered what the Stoics already knew. Suffering without meaning breaks us, but suffering with meaning transforms us. Pain becomes bearable when we see it as fuel, fuel for growth, fuel for purpose. It doesn't have to feel good. It just has to be used well. That's the Stoic approach. Don't ask the world to change. Ask yourself, what strength is this struggle trying to awaken in me? When you see pain through that lens, you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a student. The heartbreak becomes a lesson in love. The failure becomes a lesson in humility. The loss becomes a reminder of what truly matters. Not instantly, not easily, but eventually, if you stay open. Stoicism never promised an easy life, it promised a meaningful one. And meaning is often carved in the rough, sharp edges of experience. That's why Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Think about the strongest people you know. Not the ones who had it easy, but the ones who've been through the fire and didn't let it burn away their kindness, their wisdom, their hope. So, how do you find meaning in your own struggle? You reflect. You ask, what am I learning right now? Who am I becoming through this? How can I use this pain to help someone else one day? And perhaps most importantly, you stay present. You keep showing up, even when it's hard, even when it doesn't make sense yet. The Stoics didn't wait for the storm to pass. They trained in the storm. And that's your invitation too, to stop asking for comfort and start asking for courage, to stop waiting for perfect answers and start living a deeper question. How can I grow through what I didn't choose? The meaning doesn't always appear right away. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes you only see it when you look back. But trust this. If you keep your heart open, your pain will not be wasted. It will shape you, refine you, and guide you toward the person you were meant to become. Suffering only deepens the soul when we stop running from it and start learning from it. So when the world feels heavy, when your path feels unclear, remember this, you don't have to like the pain, you just have to use it. Let it be your teacher. Let it fuel your purpose. Let it make you wiser, not harder, kinder, not colder, deeper, not broken. Because in the end, it's not what happened that defines you, but how you responded to it. 6, helping others with what you've survived. There's a quiet kind of power that lives in your scars, not because they make you weak, but because they prove you've walked through something difficult and come out the other side. You're still here, and that matters, because your survival isn't just personal, it's purposeful. The Stoics believe that what we endure isn't just for our own growth, it's also fuel to help others. Your wounds can become bridges. Your story, once whispered in private, can become someone else's lifeline. Not because you have all the answers, but because you understand the struggle. Marcus Aurelius said, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee." You are not separate from the whole. What you've overcome can uplift others if you're willing to share it. Maybe you've battled anxiety, grief, loss, heartbreak. Maybe you've known failure that bent you in half. But through reflection, growth, and courage, you've gathered wisdom. Even if you're still healing, you know something now that someone else needs to hear. And when you choose to serve others from that place, to sit beside someone in pain, to say, I've been there too, you offer something priceless, hope with roots. We often think we need to be fully healed to help, that we need to be perfect before we're useful. But that's not how it works. Stoicism isn't about reaching some untouchable state. It's about being human, honest, present, and strong in service of others. When you show up with compassion, when you turn your pain into purpose, you create meaning from the meaningless. You say, this didn't defeat me, it shaped me, so I can walk beside others now. Epictetus, who lived much of his life as a slave, could have closed off from the world. But instead, he taught, he shared, he helped others grow. Because pain that's been transformed becomes powerful. Shared pain builds connection. It breaks down the illusion of isolation. It says, you're not alone. I see you, and I'm walking this with you. That kind of support doesn't need grand speeches. It just needs presence, a quiet nod, a warm word, an honest story. Helping others doesn't mean fixing them. It means being a mirror, a reminder that strength is possible, that light can return, that surviving is not shameful, it's sacred. You don't need a platform. You don't need perfect words. You just need heart. And when you serve from that space, from what you've endured, you turn your suffering into something generous. Seneca said, wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness. And kindness, especially from someone who understands pain, is one of the most healing forces on earth. Your scars may still ache, but they can shine too. And when they do, they guide others who are still in the dark. So ask yourself, who could I quietly support today? What have I learned that might ease someone else's burden? How can I show up with honesty and warmth? Not to save them, but to stand with them. Because strength when shared multiplies, and healing, when offered, heals twice. This is the Stoic path. Not just personal mastery, but communal strength. Not just private wisdom, but shared courage. Pain shapes you, but compassion defines you. And when you give from the well of what you've survived, you turn adversity into purpose. You become a lighthouse, not by being perfect, but by simply standing, illuminating the way for others. 7. Final reflection: from breakdowns to breakthroughs. There's a silence after the storm, not the absence of noise, but the presence of something deeper: clarity, stillness, strength you didn't know you had. Because when life breaks you open, it doesn't always leave you shattered. Sometimes it leaves you clearer, more honest, more grounded, more you. That's the journey, from breakdowns to breakthroughs, from falling apart to falling into place. Pain isn't the enemy. And healing isn't about erasing the past, it's about integrating it, letting it become part of your story without letting it define you. The Stoics never said, "Don't feel." They said, "Don't be ruled by your feelings." They never promised a life free of hurt. They promised a path where even hurt has meaning, where even your lowest point can become a stepping stone to your highest strength. Epictetus taught that the key to peace was not avoiding hardship, but understanding what's truly yours to control. Seneca reminded us that difficulties strengthen the soul, that inner power is forged through fire. And Marcus Aurelius, who faced betrayal, war, and deep loss, still wrote about grace, still chose calm, still showed up day after day with clarity and purpose. So if you've been through something hard, if you're carrying grief or regret or uncertainty, this is your reminder. You don't have to be unbroken to be whole. You are allowed to be a work in progress. You are allowed to carry your pain with gentleness, not as a burden, but as a badge of becoming. Because breakdowns are not the end, they are moments of reckoning. Moments when the surface shatters and you finally meet what's been buried underneath. And in that meeting, you begin to build. Slowly, truthfully, powerfully. There is no shame in the fall. The shame would be never rising again. But here you are, rising, rising. Not with the same certainty, not with the same skin, but with deeper roots. That is breakthrough. So pause here, breathe. Look at everything you've walked through. You are not weak because you've been wounded. You are strong because you didn't stay there. You are not broken because you've cracked open. You are whole because through it all you chose to keep showing up. You chose to reflect, to grow, to soften without giving up, to bend without breaking. That is the Stoic spirit, and it lives in you. So now as you move forward, carry what you've learned, give what you've gained, and trust that even the hardest chapters have not been wasted. They've been shaping you for the strength you'll need and the light you'll give. Because pain doesn't define you, it refines you, and your story is just beginning.